Hi, this is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome back to my podcast, The Morning Mood. A couple months ago, I had a conversation with the CFO. It was kind of around how things were going and rebuilding an organization and things like that. And needless to say, I had rubbed a few people the wrong way. Not uncommon for me, if you all know. A truth teller will be a truth teller. A warrior will be a warrior. It's the way it goes. But this particular conversation was perplexing to me because this is what he said. He said, Kim, in my experience, and he was a little younger than me, so we'll let him go on that one. You cannot change culture and process at the same time. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have done a lot of change leadership in my career. I was hired in at Nordstrom to help lead pretty much a culture and process change within the organization to help them compete in the modern day. Nordstrom was a little bit behind on their digital strategy. And when I was hired in, I came in with a bunch of other kind of some of the original Amazonians, went over to Nordstrom to kind of bring them into the 20th, 21st century there. So great experience, met a lot of amazing people. We'll be hearing from some of them here soon. Steve Haas, Math Behind the Magic, is one of my old Nordstroms. So I'm a Nordy girl. And once you become a Nordy girl, let me tell you, you never give that up. It's in your blood. So forever, we will be a Nordy girl. You can't change culture and process at the same time. And you know what? I'm going to call bullshit. That's total bullshit. That comment was total bullshit. Where it was coming from was, as I had mentioned, I rubbed a few people the wrong way. And they were upset because I said, you have to change your process. And they were like, oh, well, we're changing culture or whatever it was, whatever their bullshit excuse was, I wasn't taking it. I wasn't accepting it. Whatever your stupid ass bullshit excuse, you've changed your new CEO and everybody needs time to adjust, get over yourselves. It was bullshit excuse, but it's something that people believe. And it's something that this CFO believed, and he's incredibly intelligent, very well respected in the industry, tons of experience and knowledge, and really a go-getter. Really someone who he's one of my favorite types of leaders because he comes from the trenches. He jumps back into the trenches when he needs to. He's not afraid to get dirty. He's an amazing leader. So for this comment to come out of his mouth was a little bit shocking to me. And I know that some of it was driven from, hey, you're making a lot of waves. I will also like to call out that you hired me to make the waves. So it always perplexes me when people hire a consultant and then they make change and then they're upset. I'm like, what the fuck did you think I was going to do here? Just pat you on the back? You can get someone much cheaper to do that, trust me. So anyway, so I knew that some of this comment was coming from, hey, slow down a little bit. People are getting uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this company did not have an opportunity. I did not feel that slowing down was an option for them. I think I may have been proven right. But anyway, so I know that some of that conversation was coming from my personality, let's say. But there was another part of that, which was a belief in that culture and process were two different things. And based on this conversation I was having with him, and as you know, I did not let that shit go. Yeah, I challenged him just a little bit because he was trying to give me feedback and I did need to listen, but I did challenge him a little bit. I said, well, I don't understand what you mean. Process, culture, what's going on here? And he was, in his mind, they were two distinctly different things that were managed differently, that were viewed differently, and that were approached in different ways. Your corporate culture, and to him, after some probing, culture meant how you communicate with each other, the vibe. You hear vibe all the time. People associate culture with vibe. Like, how does it feel when I walk in the office? And companies that focus on that are the ones that always have like bright fucking colors on the walls because they're focused on the wrong things. Of a company culture is not about the colors of your walls. Yeah, I'm just going to fucking say it right there. Yeah, you know who you are. big A and small. It is not a vibe, though I will say that I have felt the vibe. And I'm going to give you an example of where I felt the vibe. When I joined Nordstrom, I had just come out of Amazon. As you guys know, I'd spent 7 years at Amazon building 3 multi-billion dollar startups, along with all of the import, export worldwide, product compliance, and hazmat. I built all the processes and built all that stuff. So I came out of Amazon. I was burned out. I was a crisp. But when I joined Nordstrom, I was still kind of shot out of a cannon. Like I was still going 150 miles an hour in second gear. So the one thing I noticed at Nordstrom, and this is back to the comment about vibe, because I want to tell you where vibe comes from. So I came out of Amazon, where if there was anything affecting the website at all, the whole fucking company knew about it. Let me tell you one. If there was a T1, it was, or a P1, I think it was tier 1 services. We had a P1, it's been a few, but it was a 1. If we had a site down, customer impacted situation, the whole company knew. Everyone knew. You were on a clock from the minute it was reported, and you better be fucking working on it. And you better have everybody you know who can help you work on it, working on it. So the phones rang all hours of the night when this shit happened. And I know about it because unfortunately I had some of this on my plate. So I come from this culture where customer first, website first, right? The customer can't get on the website. The customer can't check out. We got a problem. Well, first of all, I think I'm going to do a podcast on how I almost got fired in 24 hours. I think that has to be documented. 24-hour firing. I write these down on these little pieces of paper. By the way, all of you who joined me 90 episodes ago, and I was saying I need to get myself organized so I can keep track of stuff, that shit has not happened. So we're still writing it on Post-it notes. Just so you know, I have not solved that problem. You're not alone. You're okay, honey. Okay, but the 24-hour firing, I'm going to give a podcast on that one because that was a big learning. So anyway, I walk into Nordstrom. I am still in this very much, even though I've taken a year off from Amazon, I am very much in this sort of like everything has to be done yesterday mindset. And I'm there for a week or so. And I walk in one morning and everybody's kind of acting like everything's normal. There's no like weirdness going on, blah, blah, blah. I sit down at my desk. I get my day started, blah, 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 blah. And I find out through my own curiosity that the website has been down for hours. Hours. I don't remember the exact cause of it or what was going on. The tech was very fragile back then. People were moving really fast in a lot of different directions, and it caused a lot of outages. What I noticed was that there was no vibe. People were not running around with their hair on fire. There was no sense of urgency. There was no, oh my God, what's going on? Has anybody heard? How can I help? Who's on it? Where's the war room? Nothing. People were in line at fucking Starbucks getting their coffee. So when people talk about a culture and a vibe, that is the vibe. There was a vibe of apathy, of whatever. It happens all the time. We'll get it. We just sell shoes. Yeah. So you can see where I almost got fired in 24 hours. We'll come back to that later because that's a damn good story. But when people talk about culture in an organization, I'm at a loss of words because it confuses me. They confuse feel good, recognizing people, awards, having lunches, free food, masseuses coming in, all of these, are actually just perks. They use those to define their culture. And they go, well, this is our culture. So, okay, so your culture is giving away free shit? How does giving away gym memberships create a culture, a corporate culture? Wellness, maybe. Life balance. Yep. But not everybody gets life balance from going to a gym, right? Everybody's got a different thing. Not everybody focuses on health and wellness. So how does that become your culture? Those are perks of a company. Those are perks that you offer to people so that they will come and work for you. They are not your culture. And this is where companies are failing. The color on our walls. When I started at Nordstrom, they had this beautiful thing they had put on the wall. It was this infinity symbol, and it was their principles. I don't even fucking know how many there were. Let me tell y'all, when I started at Amazon, I am pretty goddamn sure there were 5 principles. There might have been 8, but I don't know. They have I don't even know how many they have, but they were not as what they have today. Okay. I'm pretty sure there was 5, no more than 8, I swear. But I work in a Nordstrom and they've got this big, beautiful thing and it's color coded because it's Nordstrom and everything was color coded. That's what it was all about. But none of it made sense. Some of them actually contradicted each other. But there was a big effort and time spent gazing at the principles and how they defined the company. And they were, quote unquote, their culture. No, the shit you put on the walls is not your culture. Let me give you another example of culture. So some of you maybe are as old as I am, and you have been in the industry, the tech industry. So I don't talk a lot about technology, but I've mostly worked in tech, supply chain tech, early supply chain tech. But I've been around tech for a long time, 30 years, pretty close. So way back in the day when you deployed tech, when you deployed versions, code changes, patches, whatever the fuck it was, new versions, releases, it took time to release the code. And it was generally done at night. You had to be on-prem because your shit was on-prem. And somebody had to back up what you had, roll out the new shit, make sure everything was tested and compatible. It was an affair. 8 hours minimum. So, in order to entertain the engineers when they had to be there all night long, they had foosball tables. They were perfect. They fit in a cubicle. It was relatively quiet. It didn't take electricity. Didn't take a lot of didn't really know how to rules to the game. It was pretty basic. And that's where foosball tables came from in engineering. And I know this because I used to be part of those releases. And that's what the guys used to do, is go pay foosball. So the whole point of the foosball table was to entertain the engineers while they did these extra long releases. Didn't have jack shit to do with culture. None. It was something to fucking do while the code rolled. That's it. All right. So Nordstrom is trying to change their culture. They're trying to become a technology organization or build a technology team. So the first thing they do is roll in foosball tables. Well, not the first thing. It was on the top of the list of stupid shit. Foosball tables. Fucking ball tables. We're trying to modernize this technology organization. And you know why they bought on foosball tables? Because that's what other technology companies had. Because that's what Google had and Microsoft had, and all these other technology companies had foosball tables. And even Amazon had foosball tables. They were hidden foosball tables, and they were personal foosball tables that were bought in and hidden in a conference room somewhere. But Nordstrom bought them, put them up front and center, and said, "We are a technology company now. We have a startup culture." Because we have foosball tables. It was the absolute opposite of what needed to happen. It was a step backwards because they didn't even understand where the foosballs came from. So out of one side of their mouth and one initiative and one priority is to modernize our organization and become a modern technology, fast-moving, daily deployments, live loads, everything. And then we drag in these fucking foosball tables that come from a time when none of that was available. And quite frankly, if your engineers have time to sit around playing foosball, we got fucking problems. The foosball table is not the culture. So back to this comment about you can't change culture and process at the same time. Here's my honest response. If your culture isn't process, we need to have a conversation. That is culture. We have a culture of process. We have a culture of customer obsession, and we build through process. That is your culture. It's not the paint on your walls. It's not the Hawaiian night on Tuesdays. It's not the t-shirts, the company store where you can buy hats at discounts. It's none of that shit. It is how people feel when they work. Are they motivated? Do they feel respected? Do they feel honored? We have a culture of honor and respect, not pink and purple walls and green walls and yellow walls. Nordstrom love their colors, baby. They did. Now that is part of Nordstrom, right? Was high end, was very visual. That is part of what Nordstrom is all about. But Nordstrom's culture was about the customer. Nordstrom's culture was the customer comes first. The customer is always right. We are here to delight. That was Nordstrom's original culture. Amazon's culture is customer obsession. Everything for the customer. Those are cultures. Obsessed with the customer. So obsessed that we will stay up all night long to make something happen. Nordstrom want to delight the customer so much that we will look in all of our stores to find something that will work for you and we will get it to you. Those are cultures. Technology cultures are built around quality and speed, not what kind of language you use. Are product management software is being used? Are what kind of computers you have? That's not culture. That's shit. That's benefits. So let me tell you, you can change culture and process at the same time. And the first thing you have to do is get rid of that bullshit culture. Yeah, get rid of all of it because you're focused on the wrong thing. Yeah. And that's what nobody wants to hear because that's what they've invested in. That's what they've identified with. That's what they've spent all this money on, was creating this visual. But it's not your culture. And it's conflicting with your process. So yes, you can change culture and process at the same time because quite frankly, part of your culture should be process. And if part of your culture isn't process, you need to make that happen. And then we won't have to have this conversation again. Culture is not the color of your walls, baby. It's much deeper than that. All right. Y'all stay tuned because I'm excited to tell you about how I almost got fired in 24 hours from Nordstrom. Bye.